All right, guys and gals, boys and girls, welcome back to the Cardboard Crawlers RC channel on YouTube. We are going to be in the garage today, putting in a limiting strap in the Grizzly Works LCG chassis. Went and got my motor plates drilled out over at the big shop today and put that in, and then realized I wanted to do a limiting strap up front, and so I have that done and we have some video of the process. Here we go. One of the first things I do want to show you before we get too far into this is what actually definitely not to do. So what I have here is an example of two very long screws that are used to hold on a set of links. We're going to pretend that these two little red pivot balls right here are actually attached to the truck, and links are coming off of said pivot balls back to the rear of the truck, to the center of the truck. And what happens if you have these two screws that are much too long? That one's already seated in all the way, and well, wrong driver. What would happen, well, I think this one's all the way in. It is. What can happen from that is you'll drive both of these screws together, and this is real easy not to do if you don't have a pivot ball in there because you can see them. But if you didn't realize you had two long screws, you'll drive them together. It'll start to spread these two tines here, and eventually you'll just make the thread strip, and then one of these bolts will just shoot back towards you, and you'll strip out the threads. If it's an aluminum servo, you got problems. You'll have to run a nut system. So what I've done is taken the liberty to have another screw and pivot ball ready. And what we will do here is we will back this one out, because you could use one really long one if that's just what you had around. And then what you would do is run a much shorter screw on the other side. And you can see on this screw that it just comes through the pivot ball enough to bite into the servo tray and have a couple of threads come out the other side. And I'll put that in right now. And I've put that screw in there, and once again, I am the Cardboard Crawlers. This is the Cardboard Crawlers RC channel, and thanks for coming along. Thanks for enjoying the ride. So we're gonna run this other screw in there, and you can see now they don't quite touch. And that's very optimal just for not binding anything up. You don't want them binding into each other. What I'm going to do is just back them out to where they are just in the tray leg there. And then I will take another pivot ball, and what I did was use a pair of tweezers. And what you have to do is you have to make sure that those screws don't have any thread. A single thread will bind you up, because the pivot ball fits in there almost snugly with no screw coming through. Still have, oh, there it is. Slips into place. And it is difficult to do in place, but not impossible, because it would be difficult to mount your links like this and have them, attached and have all that done. It's easy to just kind of, I'll explain here once I get this set. So now, even if I just had two short screws, you saw how far those threads come through, just barely into the opening, an eighth of an inch, if any. If an eighth, maybe more like a 16th. That's really all you need to capture this bead, because once you've captured it from both sides with a little bit of thread, what we've done is then created a long tube, that is much more stable than three separate pieces. And it's a nice strong unit all by itself. So you might ask why you would do this. Well, I do this so that I can set up a limiting strap in that area there. What I do is I thread a piece of lead core fishing line down into there. I have this. I use it for fly tying to make little tails on different things, and I take the lead out and I use the sheath for the fly tying, and that's exactly what I do here in this situation. So I will just trim up a little piece that I need. Oh, forgive my dull cutters. And this is just a little shorty for example's sake. I usually cut quite a bit of extra length. And what I'll do is I'll get it thread in there and looped around. And once I get it looped around, I will try to get my lead core out. Because all I really want in there is the braided line, the braided part of the line. It's just like a nylon cover, nylon braiding cover. And I don't need the lead core because this nylon by itself is super strong. And so what I'll do is, now that's a loop, and I have a loop set up here already. And what I'll do is I'll bring, well, I don't have this one set up. I need to get this lead core out of here. Stand by. So here we go. We've looped the braided housing for that lead core braided line down around the pivot ball. We have it all looped up around this handy bracing bar that's on the Grizzly Works LCG kit. Like I said, with the other rig that I did, I just drilled a hole down on an ESC tray right here. And if I really had thought about it, I would have drilled like a double hole, like a hole on the flat and a hole in the face. And then the loop would only go from this corner. The way I have it now is the hole's in the face and my loop goes around the front of the face. Either way, no big deal. It's been on there for months and I don't have a problem. I haven't broken it. This is strong line. So what I want to do here is just get a knot started, and I use plenty of extra line for this reason right here, because you want to get it started and then you're going to compress it just a little and it's going to kind of hold itself, but we're going to do something tricky. Okay, we're going to go just right in between there, and we'll be able to compress just a little bit more. Get this knot set where we want it. And since this one's so easy to do, we're just going to run with this. It's a little tighter than I might like it normally. So yeah, guys, all we've really done is captured the pivot ball and then looped a string, or you could use monofilament, you could use anything. I just happen to have this braided, really nice thin braided line. I thought it would work. I tried it. It did. I'm using it now again. So we're just captured down into the bead down there. And then we come up in a loop and we have a simple square knot. And then I did a double square knot just for giggles. It's not like it's fishing where we're going to worry about that knot breaking or anything. It's not a big deal if it breaks. It doesn't hurt anything. You might get some string in your drive line. No biggie. I've been running one for a long time on this rig and never broken it. So we're set up here and it's just limited. So, it just doesn't come up It doesn't, when you're climbing, when you get that ugly climb lift in the front end, it just won't do that now. And that's all just right there in this limitation. And we still have full out with the shocks. They'll press away and down with the weight of the axle, or, you know, as needed. You could even change your springs a little bit, do something a little different, have this a little looser, have it a little tighter to where you're sucked down even further. And then as you needed, your tire would fall away and you wouldn't have very much up travel in your suspension. So I hope that you may have followed along this far. If you did, like, subscribe, share, comment, tell a friend, show a friend. Once again, like I like to say, build a truck. Gives you something to do. All it is advanced Legos, people. You know, it's not that, really not that difficult. So have fun with it. You know, like I said, it's just a simple captured bead. You make a loop, you have a limiting strap, and it's a more permanent, I think a more realistic version than the rubber bands, although I've never really tried rubber bands. I've just seen them and I understand how it works. And in a 1-to-1, a centered limiting strap is very efficient. Have a good day. Cardboard crawlers out.